Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Guys, good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Jenny, how you doing today?
That is how you ruin a championship ring celebration night. That's how you do it. Beautiful. Poop that party. Spoil it. Yes.
Nothing can ruin
Thank
that
you.
moment. Skip, did you see how big those rings were?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
They're
yes,
almost
I
as big
did.
as
I
5
did.
cases of Diet Mountain Dew. They're this big.
Well,
Because that's what you lost to me last night.
I will get it back. Well, take it off that 50 you owe me.
The nectar of the gods. The breakfast of champions.
Your day
Diet
coming. You
Mountain
see how you
Dew.
laughing now? See you kicking over there? Your day coming.
Here we go.
Last year, same thing now.
Yeah.
Those rings were special. I love the
Yes.
family involvement. But yes, I have to admit, the Clippers, they did spoil opening night with LeBron and the Lakers because they received their championship rings and they had that moment. But it was Paul George who led the game in scoring with 33 points, while LeBron and Anthony Davis combined for only 40. The Clippers led by as many as 22, while the Lakers never had the lead once. Shannon, what was the biggest reason the Lakers lost this game?
Well, first, I would like to congratulate the Clippers on being 2-time opening night champs. That is a huge accomplishment. You should feel very proud of yourselves. And congratulations again from all the Laker fans and Laker Nation across the world. Well, Skip, the reason why they lost the ball is that the Lakers lost the game, The Lakers did not shoot the ball particularly well, and I'm being kind. They shot the ball awful. And even as bad as a start as they got off to, Skip, for the majority of the third quarter, they were 1-2 points down. And then over the last 5 minutes, they go 1 for 10.
Yep.
Paul George catch fire, and then they were never able to get back into the ball game. Paul George was spectacular last night. The Lakers, and you can tell the Lakers got a ways to go with conditioning in order to be the team that they want to be and where they were last year. LeBron James is not going to play heavy minutes. We saw that last night. The fewest minutes he's ever played in a season opener, 28 minutes. And you saw, Skip, when he went to the bench, it's like, I was thinking to myself, I don't think LeBron, he was walking like I ain't coming back. That's that, I ain't coming back in here walk. But give the Clippers credit. Paul George got going, and then there was no answer for that. If one of our guys could have got going, maybe we could have offset, go back and forth. Kawhi shot the ball. Look, I'm thinking about building a house because I heard there was a brick shortage. I know who's been hoarding them. Kawhi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's okay to have 26 points, but you can't take 26 shots to get those 26 points. Skip Bayless. But Paul George was the difference. The Lakers did not shoot the ball well. Marc Gasol's got to stay out of trouble. Anthony Davis got to shoot more. Kyle Kuzma's got to slow it down. And we're still integrating people, Skip. And they did it. Dennis Schroeder started at the point. LeBron started off the ball. So we're going to see how this plays out over the next month. But that's why they lost. But it's okay. And plus, our arms are hurting. Man, we got 5 pounds of gold on our arm. You saw that, Skip. That thing's so big. But that's okay, your day. I know you over there keying inside. You love it. Oh, we ruined it. But your day coming, Skip Bayless. Remember I told you. Save the date. Your day coming.
My turn. The reason I am keying over here is that I laughed and laughed and laughed all through the last 5 minutes of the third quarter and much of the fourth quarter because of the irony of what was happening. Your biggest target during last year's playoffs, the man at whom you leveled the most scathing criticism, you called him Playoff P. That was his nickname for himself, except you put 2 E's on the P. He was Playoff P-E-E.
Okay.
And I don't disagree with your assessment of him because he was a basket case in the bubble, but you were all over him for days on end. You've been all over him through the offseason, and that man alone came back to haunt you last night, and that man, PG-13, cost you 5 cases of Diet Mountain Dew. It began and it ended with PG-13.
Yep.
And I will be the first to admit that I was about to go playoff PEE with 1:31 left in the first quarter after a tour de force first quarter by my Clippers. They punished you. They were up 22 at one point late in the first quarter. It was everybody, all hands on deck, everybody clicking at the highest level. It was a beautiful thing to watch for me. And it looked like and smelled like it was going to be a halftime blowout of Clippers over Lakers. And Paul George had had a short rest and hadn't done much yet in the game. And he came back into the game. And with 1:31 left in the first quarter, could we please see what PG-13 did? This was bubblicious. This was like last year's bubble. He threw it to the referee in the corner.
And then he blamed Luke Kennard. You're supposed to be.
Well, what are you doing?
You're supposed to be in the corner,
Luke. Be there. Well, what are you doing? And I thought, uh-oh, here we go again. And it became a microcosm of what happened against Denver last year when my Clippers were up, as you know, in 3 closeout games, 15 points and 19 points and 12 points. And it felt like that was happening all over again because from that point on, they finished the first quarter with a Luke Kennard turnover and a Lou Williams turnover. Didn't make another shot. And then they missed 12 of their first 13 shots to start the second quarter. Is that good? No, that'll get you beaten. You know, again, it was a home game for the Lakers, although they share staples. And nobody was there, mostly except the basketball players. And yet, your team didn't play great in the second quarter, but sort of woke up and said, well, wait a second. If they don't want it, maybe we should take it, right?
Yep.
And here they came, and they cut the deficit from 22 all the way down to 2 going into halftime. And what was Shannon Sharpe thinking up in his palatial estate up in Bel Air? We got this. And I seriously, at halftime, thought you got this. I thought you might win this by 15 because you had seized momentum and you had made the Clippers doubt themselves again. And obviously, they spent an entire shortened offseason doubting themselves over why did that happen and how do we fix it? Well, did they go out and get playoff Rondo to be their point guard? They did not. But I was very intrigued by what Kawhi Leonard said after the game last night. We just kept running our offense. And that's what we took pride in tonight. Everybody had each other's back, and everybody was staying positive. That was a statement aimed at your newest Laker, Harrell, who obviously became the malcontent in the locker room, and you can say they demonized him for all their problems.
They did.
And shipped him on his way because they did not want to re-sign him, and it shocked him, but it surprised the Lakers. Lakers jumped on the situation. Oh, we'll take him. And to his credit, he gave you 17 and 10. He gave you a lot of energy, a lot of emotion last night, but it wasn't impactful. Your newest addition, also Schroeder, gave you like a near triple-double, but he shot 5 of 15 from the field, and it didn't feel that impactful to me. I didn't remember it as, oh, wow, he took the game over. But the point was, something happened in the halftime locker room with the new Clippers. Something was changed from last year because they did not fold. And all of a sudden,
but they were folding. The only difference is that the difference between last year and the last 3 games and last night is that Paul George made shots.
Okay, well, that's the only difference. He was the one who folded first last year.
Yeah, but they don't have anything to do with...
What was he saying? In the bubble, he was lost. He needed counseling in the bubble, right?
Yeah.
He was feeling anxiety and depression in the bubble, as many were. And yet, he was the one who fell apart the quickest and the most against Denver. And then last night, he scores 15 in the third quarter alone. And he adds 10 in the fourth quarter.
11.
11 in fourth, yeah, because he got to 26 for the second half.
Yes.
Whew! And after a while, he starts stroking it. And what did I tell you last week? I said, the Paul Georges don't grow on Southern California trees. He's 6'8", and he's skilled, and he's a smooth scorer of the basketball, and he's obviously a first-team all-defense level defender.
Yes.
And that was the guy they got back last night, and that was the difference in the game.
He caught fire, and that was you're right. You're absolutely right, Skip. Because you saw there for like 5 or 6 minutes, Skip, the game was right there. 1-2, 1-2, 1, 1-1-2. I was like, if the Lakers could just get the lead, but they couldn't buy a basket. Caruso couldn't throw it in the ocean last night. Wesley Matthews couldn't throw it in the ocean last night.
Neither could Kawhi Leonard, as you point out.
And Skip, LeBron.
Maybe some of those bricks you've been looking for belong to your Lakers.
Yeah, they a few of them. Yeah, we had a few of them. And LeBron, the layups. LeBron missed like 3-4 point-blank layups. But that just his legs are not there. It's going to take him. The first month of the season, I expect LeBron to play somewhere around 30 minutes while he works himself back into shape. The one thing that you can do is that really hurt yourself and set yourself back is that you try to get all your conditioning in 1 or 2 games. And that's when you tweak hamstrings, quad, calves, and things of that nature. So LeBron is going to gradually be 72 days since the season ended and they won the championship until they played last night. 72 days. I'm not concerned. I'm going to give the Clippers credit. I'm going to give Paul George credit. Paul George was unbelievable. Now, we know he's capable of having games like this. The question is, in a big moment, in the playoff games, can he have games, not a game, games, multiples like this? Because I believe that's what it's going to take. Now, am I surprised he played that well? No, because, look, Skip, like you said, he's an all-star. He's an all-NBA player, both offense and defensively. So we know what he can do.
What did Shaq tell him last night on Inside the NBA after the game? He told him to his face as they were interviewing Paul George, hey, I expect you to do this every night. And he meant it in a positive way, like this is what you should do every night.
Even if he doesn't score 33, have a positive impact on the ball game.
Right. My biggest takeaway from last night is these Clippers are different because these Clippers are better than they were last year. Nicholas Batum wound up in the starting lineup because Marcus Morris, the third best Clipper, a high-level scorer and defender, as you well know, is out with knee soreness. So he was there to videotape his brother getting his twin brother, obviously getting his ring, which was a cool moment. But he could not play. So Nicholas Batum, who they just picked up off the scrap heap, was in the starting lineup. And guess what? They look different with him because he's a basketball player. High level.
Skip, he was 1 for 4. He made one shot.
Yeah. Who led them in assists? Help me out. What's your stat sheet say? Who led the Clippers in assists?
But Skip, but you have to
Nicholas Batum, he knows how to play basketball.
But because that's going to be more times than not, their bigs, Paul George, Kawhi, or a big will lead them in assists because they don't have the traditional point guard. Patrick Beverley's not that. The likelihood of
what did
Lou
Kawhi
Williams
say after they blew Game 7 to the Denver Nuggets? He said, we need to improve our IQ. Correct? Luke Kennard improves their IQ. And again, Ty Lue, the new head coach, played Luke Kennard pretty big minutes.
He did.
He had him in crunch time because he knows how to play. He knows how to handle. He knows how to share.
Skip, Luke Kennard was terrible last night.
He was not terrible.
Skip, he was minus. You tell me plus minus is a barometer.
Yep. I really liked him. He's going to change the IQ of this team. All of a sudden, they have people who know how to share the ball and make things happen when you have a lead.
Skip, this was not about how smart in the ball movement. The ball went in for one team. It didn't go in for the other team. I don't want to make it any more complicated than that. Paul George was the best player.
What does your stat sheet say about your newest Laker, Marc Gasol? I told you you're going to have a big problem with Marc Gasol. What did he do?
He got in foul trouble. He didn't do nothing.
Foul trouble, and he did nothing.
Nothing.
Right?
And they ended up having to play Trez 32 minutes. Marc Gasol played 12 minutes.
Oh, he had 0 of 0. He had zeros all the way across the board. He had 1 rebound.
1 assist.
Wow. Interesting.
And five personal fouls.
I told you, no Dwight, no JaVale. You're going to miss them. You're missing their edge, their length. Marc Gasol scares nobody.
But Skip, also, when you're that big, you're going to have to get in conditioning also. He was just a tad late on a couple of plays, and it got him put out of position, and he ended up committing fouls. I'm going to give him time. I'm going to give the Lakers time. I'm going to give the Clippers credit. The Clippers won. Paul George was sensational. Paul George was sensational.
And yet, the guy you picked to be this year's MVP, Baby Goat, Anthony Davis, was very quiet last night.
He was.
He made his shots from distance, but he wasn't able to convert in the lane. You know why? Because the Clippers got better in the lane on defense. The Clippers don't have little Montrez anymore. He's about 6'7". Suddenly they got Serge Ibaka, who is still Ibaka. He was bothering AD in the paint.
Did you see what he did to Ibaka? He brought him outside, said, I'll be right back, and dropped him off.
Anthony Davis took 15 shots, which is exactly how many Schroeder took last night. LeBron took 17 shots, and you know what? You want to talk about a quiet 18 points from the quote-unquote baby goat? Those were quiet because he was having a harder time scoring at the rim on Zoo and Ibaka.
Well, the thing is, Skip, is that you don't need your two best players to turn the ball over 8 times between the two of them. AD had a lot of unfortunate, and that's what got the Clippers out, got them going, Skip, was the turnovers. They were turning the ball over, and the Clippers were getting easy baskets in transition. Skip, look, you can't blow this moment. I know Jenny read, I heard it in Jenny's voice, how she was reading it. I heard the way you received it and the look on your face. But you can't ruin our moment. We got our rings. Jason of Beverly Hills, nice. And guess what? Christmas. We got something for the Mavericks. Now, you'll see a different team on Christmas.
It was a beautiful ceremony. It was emotional. It was moving. I loved all the family videos to introduce.
But then I'm glad they ruined it, though.
Well, they ruined it because I knew that's why I made the bet, because this league has a history of the visiting team ruining the ring ceremony.
I mean, that moment, guys like, man, look at this here.
Yeah.
Everybody posing for
the distracted, which brings me back to LeBron James. I also made the bet going into last night because I told you all week this week, I've told you he's not in condition.
No.
He celebrated too long. And I saw a quote from him in the game story today saying, it was weird already playing a basketball game tonight. He wasn't ready to play. I think he's had too many cigars and a little too much wine. And in fact, we got a wine quote from him after the game last night because he's talking about his ankle. And I was shocked that he left at 7:51 and did not come back because, again, if we could see the ankle tweak, and Dave McMenamin of ESPN wrote that he just caught it on the floor. It looked like he stepped on Zoo's shoe, but I don't know. You can't, if you see it from the side. McMenamin just wrote that it got caught on the floor and turned over a little bit. But he jumped up. Here it is. He stepped. I'm not sure he stepped on his foot. I'm not sure.
It's like he slid.
Yep.
But he did. He stepped on his left ankle.
Yeah. It's very close.
Yeah.
But the point was, LeBron stayed in for another couple of minutes, and he took another 3 and missed it, and then he left. And it shocked me. Not much was made about it on TNT.
No.
And I thought, well, maybe it's THT on TNT. Maybe he's going to come in and save the day, but I don't remember him playing much last night.
Yeah, he played a little bit. I mean, we gonna get
much. Okay. Huh, interesting.
Nobody played well. I mean, he was 2 for 2, had 6 points. I mean, we're going to be okay.
So
don't you worry about
us. LeBron said to ESPN, he said, I'll go home and ice it, but I'll be just fine. He says, I'll drink some wine that will flow right down to the ankle. So he's even using wine as his cure-all now.
That is.
Oh, okay.
They say you should have a glass a night.
Oh, really?
I have a bottle a night.
Well, how many does he have? How many
Don't
glasses?
worry about it. There you go. There you go.
Skip. I don't know.
It's good for your heart.
Okay, so they say just a little bit in moderation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but...
Where's that place? There's a place in Italy where the people live, the average age is like 90 plus, and they be drinking wine all the time.
Eating bread and drinking wine.
Yeah,
right?
see?
Yeah, I guess so. There's different ways to do it. Well, LeBron was not in shape last night. So, again, Vogel said after the game he was on a minutes restriction.
Yes.
I think his minutes had just run out.
Yeah.
He got to, they wanted to keep him under 30, and he was at 28, and they just said,
Yeah.
And I believe LeBron, highest IQ in all of basketball, said, you know what? This is their night. It's not going to matter if I'm here. I've gone cold again. He had a little hot hand for a while from 3, but it had gone cold. I think he just said, that's enough. You guys take it.
Maybe you'd have got him to that 30-minute skip if Paul George hadn't gone on that hot streak in the third quarter.
Maybe
you see him 30 minutes, 32 minutes. But once Paul George, I mean, you go from 2 to start this third to 11 to start the fourth, and then you see it balloon some more, and he
But
tweaks
when he
it.
left, they were down 7, so it's still a game.
I believe if they had made a run, get it back to 1-2, maybe take the lead, he comes back.
Instead, they just busted it right out
They
to
did.
17.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Enjoyed it.
Boy.
I mean, y'all the 2-time opening night champs. That's
So
a huge accomplishment
think about
for you
this.
guys.
The team that was favored to win it all going into the playoffs in the bubble, the Los Angeles Clippers, they got a little better in the offseason. I like what I see.
Guess what, Skip? You know what I know? The Clippers won the game last night. Guess who's still favored to win the championship?
Love Ty Lue. He wrapped it up last night by saying it was a great ceremony. They had a great year. They deserved to win the championship, but we are moving on.
Y'all move on.
I think everybody just moved on.
Y'all ain't got no choice, Skip. You ain't got no choice. You don't have no choice. We evicted you. Now you watch us celebrate upstairs. So you can move on all you want to. Yeah, we want you to move out. Not move on, move out. Go down to the forum. Skip, we didn't even see, we should have did you dirty. We should have dropped that back. We got the black cloak over it. But you know, they keep talking, and we're gonna unveil it. Okay?
I thought you were going to wait until they're real fans.
No, we're gonna wait. That was what we were hoping to do. But y'all keep talking like y'all actually won something. We need to remind you, when you win things, things go up. Considering that you don't have anything up there, why are y'all still talking?
I told you, everybody's sleeping on the Clippers.
Ain't nobody sleeping on the Clippers.
Yep. And they woke up last night.
Skip, Paul George woke up. Stop pretending like Kawhi was lights out. He had 26 points on 26 shots.
Made a lot of good mid-range shots.
He missed what about that three? Oh, Skip, tell people at home what Kawhi was from the three-point line.
He was 1 for 8. We already talked about that.
Is that good?
Okay, but think of this. Here's the perspective that should horrify you. We didn't have our third best player, and our first best player went 1 for 8 from 3, and we still won in a cakewalk. Cakewalk.
First of all, Anthony Davis took 15 shots. And was
That sounds like bad old Anthony. How many times we talk about that last year?
Anthony Davis is a legit 27 and 11 guy.
Okay.
And he was what? 9 points and 6 rebounds under what he's averaging. LeBron James. Come on, Skip. Y'all know when the rubber meets the road, what's up?
Well, it
Bust
wasn't
your
up.
head again.
It was down last
Yeah,
night.
Skip. Do you see how heavy those rings are? Can you imagine a baseball pitcher going and doing 100 bicep curls and then trying to go pitch a game? His arm gonna be blowed. We were blown from. I mean, the thing's heavy.
LeBron warmed up in his 2020 championship.
Everybody had those. You make it seem like LeBron the only one that got one. AD had one. Kuzma got one.
You got to let it go. Let it go.
We ain't letting nothing go. No, it ain't over.
The new year just started.
It ain't over.
Yep.
And tell Tom Brady to stop leaving me alone on IG. Bother me, Skip. I don't bother people. You know I don't bother anybody.
We'll talk about
Who's
that in a minute.
bothering
I was celebrating.
Oh, we're going to get there.
celebrating.
We're going to talk about it. We're
But
going
your
to talk
date
about it.
coming.
No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay, I welcome in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy. Kevin Durant's Nets debut couldn't have gone much better, coming in a 125-99 win over the Warriors. KD finished with 22 points on 7 of 16 shooting, while Kyrie led all scorers with 26. It was Durant's first game since June 2019, and after the game, Steve Kerr said KD looked exactly the same on the court. So Shannon, scale of 1 to 10, how impressive were the Nets?
They're very impressive, Skip. They're scary. They're going to be scary to deal with now. The East going to have their hands full. We know what KD represents, Skip. He's a 2-time Finals MVP. He's a league MVP. He's an All-NBA player. He's one of the great scorers of all time. He's a transcendent player. Kyrie Irving. Nobody's ever questioned Kyrie's Irving talent. There have been very few players, if any, can dance with the basketball like this kid can, Skip. He can shoot the three. We know that. He got the mid-range. And now when he starts making that three of the mid-range, you try to get up on him, he can put the ball on the floor better than anybody in the history of the game. And to be able to kiss the ball off the glass with either hand, with the English in which he used, Skip, and he got a floater. With that, and then you got DeAndre Jordan seemed to have turned back the hands of time, a rim protector. Then you go to the bench and you got Jared Allen, a rim protector. Now you throw KD in also that can block shots from the backside, rim protection. So you're good on the defensive end. And then you get Karis LeVert that can heat up and go get you 50. Dinwiddie can get you 50. Skip, if this says, you know what? The goal is to win a championship. I don't care about minutes. I don't care about shots. I'm going to play my role. Skip, they're going to be the deal with. I like what I saw. It seems like KD and Kyrie were not in each other's way. For me, Skip, they don't need James Harden. They really don't. Because you're going to have to give up so much to get him. I believe they're perfectly fine. They can stand pat exactly where they are. Jeff Green comes in. Skip, the East got their hands full. Giannis, Sixers, Celtics. Bro, y'all got your hands full, man. I know it's one game, Skip, and, hey. And KD started off 3 for 3, and then he went 4 for 13 the rest of the way. But the shots that he missed is the shots that he wants to take. And give him a month, and the shots that he missed, he won't miss them. They're scary. They look really good, and their second unit, Skip, can start for a lot of teams. And they remind you of the old Golden State, because that's how Golden State's second unit was, Skip. They come in, and whatever lead you had, they would eat it away. And whatever lead that Clay and Steph and Draymond left them with, it was expanded on. And that looks like what I see for the Brooklyn Nets. Skip, they look, damn.
So, scale of 1 to 10, you're up to
I'm up to a 9.
9.
I'm up to a 9.
I am also at a 9, and I would have gone 10, but it's only opening night, and it was only Golden State without Clay and without Draymond last night.
Golden State gonna struggle making the playoffs, Skip. I'm sorry.
I liked what I saw from James Wiseman. He looks like the real deal, and I said before the draft, that's the one I would take with the first overall pick if I'm Minnesota. But the point is, I just sat back in awe of what happened in the first quarter, because you could see right away that Kevin Durant is a medical marvel, if not a medical miracle. I saw vintage Kevin Durant coming off Achilles reattachment. Again, you made the point, I believe, yesterday. It's not like he was a leaper to begin with.
Right.
It's not like he relied strictly on quickness to begin with. So maybe he'll be okay. He was all the way okay.
Yeah.
I saw not a hint of any protection of that leg. Steve Kerr said after the game, I was very anxious to see how he looked, and he said it looked like Kevin Durant.
On the shot right before that, Skip, I always watch a guy and look at him, okay, how did you suffer this injury? And are you willing to go back and do the same move that you did the injury?
Yep.
And you watch the start and stop
Push
it.
off, yeah.
No hesitation whatsoever.
Nope. Did he have his old quickness? Yes. Did he have his old lift? Yes. And again, not that he's a leaper.
Right.
He's 7 feet tall and he's long. So he doesn't need all that.
Right.
But the package was back. He looked like the best player on the planet to me. I've thought that all along. He was out of sight, out of mind.
Here we go.
And here we go.
Skip,
it just looked like.
I just want to do one segment where you and I agree on something. Where you don't just splurt out these conspiracy theories.
It's not conspiracy.
Yes, it is.
A fact.
It is not.
It's eye test, dead solid fact. Take it to your bank.
Okay, what is all the sites? The best player in the NBA, all sites, all 50 of them.
I told you, out of sight, out of mind.
Skip,
they treated Kevin Durant like he retired.
Skip,
I kept saying, he's still there.
Well, you between
nuclear weapon is still there in the silo.
You're talking like LeBron has retired.
Well, last night he looked semi.
There you go. There you go.
So then, to your point about the blend between two besties, it was beautiful to watch. They seemed in complete, utter synchronicity with each other. There was none of that Durant Westbrook like, is it your turn or my turn? Oh, wait, I'm over here. There was no body language. There's no foul body language. There's no negativity. It just seemed to flow because Kevin's not a ball hog. Kevin can get his on lower shots.
Right.
And Kyrie had it going, and Kevin just blended right into the flow. And then the other thing that took my breath away was I worried with Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni at the helm here. What were they not known for when they were in Phoenix, those two together? Defense. They just didn't. It was
they tried to outscore everybody.
They were just going to outscore. This team looked like it wants to play defense because this team was hungry on defense because it detonates its offense. So all of a sudden, hands are up in the passing lanes. They're deflecting, they're stealing, they're blocking, and they are running like crazy. And they have the greenest light from Steve Nash because if you have a fast break three, just pull up and take it.
Yep.
If you steal the ball on an inbounds pass and you got a shot and it's 1-on-3, just pull up and take the three. And they were hot-handed. I give you that. That's why I'm a 9 on a scale of 10. But the point was they were disrupting on defense. I didn't know I would see that coming. Kevin Durant had 3 steals last night. So that'll show you his Achilles is okay because he's moving.
Right.
Again,
Ladder side to side.
Those are moves that you have to react to move.
Yeah.
You know, it's not proacting, you're reacting.
And they blocked 7 shots.
Whew. Okay. So you mentioned DeAndre Jordan has had sort of a rebirth, but I think he's a favorite in the locker room. I think he's a favorite of Kevin's and Kyrie's. So he's going to be in the starting lineup. I think he's seen his best days in this league. Again, he had his moments last night, got his rebounds as usual last night, but he's not better than Jared Allen. But Jared Allen comes in and he's going to get his minutes too. And it's going to be great because he's going to come in with intense energy.
Blocking shots, altering shots. Skip, they had 57 rebounds last night.
God, it was destruction. And then, to your point, here comes the bat out of hell off the bench, Karis LeVert, who they have convinced, at least for the moment, you are the next Manu Ginobili. That's what, again, Steve Nash said, we need a Manu who would just come in with high energy, just making things happen. I'm going to force the issue on you, whether you like it or not.
Correct.
I might turn it over. I might miss a couple of wild shots, but I am going to come at you like nobody in our starting 5 came at you.
Right.
That's what he did last night. And he was a terror. Got his 20. He's going to get his minutes and his shots and his points. And I think it will keep him happy enough that now you keep looking around and you say, wait a second, there's Dinwiddie. Well, what about Joe Harris, a 3-point All-Star Saturday night shooting champ, right? Wait a second, it's just deeper. What about Jeff Green? I love Jeff Green.
I love Jeff Green,
and all
too.
of a sudden, he went from the Rockets to the Nets.
Right.
Well, it just makes you deeper and stronger and mentally tougher when he's coming in.
And he can play defense, he can rebound.
Now to your James Harden point. What I thought happened last night was that the Nets sent a message to everybody else in the Eastern Conference, you better go get James Harden or you're not going to have a shot, right? Because we don't need James Harden. I agree with you. Why would you disrupt this? Why would you tear the heart out of your team? Why would you send all of your depth, all of your best younger players to Houston and bring in James to something that looked like beautiful unity and chemistry last night?
Because you're going to lose one of the big. Because I'm assuming that Houston's going to want Jared Allen, Dinwiddie, and Karis LeVert.
Well,
That's just for start.
I agree. You'd have to start there, and they may want something else.
And they'll probably go want a couple of first round. Skip, and the Nets should be scoring because remember what they gave up to get KG and Paul Pierce?
Yep.
They gave up and they doomed them for a decade.
Okay. So if I'm the new GM in Philadelphia, Daryl Morey, the old GM in Houston, now I'm sitting back saying, I just don't know if we can compete with that right here, right now. I got Doc Rivers, but maybe I need James Harden in place of Ben Simmons. But let me ask you a question. Okay, do you think James Harden and James Harden and Joel Embiid can compete with that? Because here's the thing. If they don't, you don't have any way to get any better because you have no draft assets. Yeah. Look, I'm a Ben Simmons fan, much bigger than you are. And I think for the longer term, you would want to build with those two still very young players.
Right. Ben Simmons got to be, what, 23?
Yeah.
24?
So he's 24, I believe. So you keep your two towers there.
Right.
And you just say, we got to build around them. They got Seth Curry.
Right.
And maybe it's not this year, maybe it's next year, or maybe it's the next year.
Right.
But if you want to compete right here, right now, you have to go get James Harden. let's go to Boston. They got so many nice young players, but do they have that guy
No.
who can deal with this team? Do they have a Durant or a Kyrie? I say no.
If I'm ownership of the Sixers, I don't let Daryl Morey pull this trade because I saw what wanting to compete against the Warriors did to him. It ruined them for the future. They got no draft assets. Every year, Skip, what do they want to do? They went and got him Chris Paul, but they had to give up so much to get him. They went and got Russell Westbrook, but they had to give up so much to get him. Now, they got nothing else.
How much power and autonomy does Daryl Morey have? Is it his trigger to pull?
Probably.
He left a full-page ad in the Houston, is it the Chronicle, I believe? But a full-page ad that thanked James Harden for changing my life. Well, you don't think he would now gravitate toward, boy, I got to get James?
And plus, and here's the thing, Skip. Daryl Morey likes to do what? Nobody has done more trades than Daryl Morey. Yeah. Well, what can I trade now, Skip? I got nothing. Now he goes to a new place. He got fresh draft capital. Okay. And so if I'm the Sixers organization, I'm like, nah, bro, I'm not gonna let you do that.
Okay. Who has the most draft capital? Danny Ainge.
Yes.
Right.
Hey, first of all, they talk about they want James Harden. Houston gonna say, well, I want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Yeah. And Danny Ainge gonna hang the phone.
No, I got you. And then supposedly on the radar now is Toronto. Right.
Skip, what a Toronto guy.
I don't know. But do they need him? Yes, they do.
Yes.
That's the only way they can compete.
Skip, a lot of teams need him, but I don't believe James Harden going anywhere gets anybody in the East close to what I've seen from Brooklyn. Now, like I said, Skip, it's open tonight, so we'll see a little bit more tonight, a little bit more Christmas and at the first month. But from what I've seen, James Harden is not making Toronto or not making the Celtics because the Celtics is going to have to give up too much to get James Harden. So now you're back to square one. You got James Harden in the Celtics uniform, but they're going to want Jason Tatum. You're not giving up Jason Tatum, Skip.
They would have to have Jason Tatum. I would agree.
I'm hanging the phone up.
And finally, the latest report was that Denver was somehow kicking the tires on James Harden, and I don't get that.
Yeah,
because, again, you're going to have to give up one of your two stars.
You're going to give up Jokic Murray.
I would take my chances as is.
Yes.
With Michael Porter as your rising third star.
If Michael Porter has gotten 20% better than what he was last year, not only physically, but mentally. Skip, they're going to be the deal with in the West. Because the kid
they got
can
a shot.
stroke it.
They got a shot.
Skip, you remember what was they up one? And he came up and pulled up with a three with like 30 seconds. So he has the makeup.
He's a big talent.
Yes, 6'10", can shoot it. No, I wouldn't break that up, Skip. I wouldn't break that up.
Okay, well, I am looking forward to this next debate here because Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy joined Shannon on the Club Shay podcast and shared his list of toughest quarterbacks to coach against. Dungy said Tom Brady was 6th on his list because guys like Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, and Steve Young's ability to move brought an extra dimension. Brady simply responded to a tweet of the interview with a picture of the Colts 2014 AFC finalist banner, which was a game. Yes, Brady and the Patriots won 45-7. Tom Brady doesn't miss anything. Shannon, did Dungy have a point?
Skip, why you roll your eyes at me, Skip?
I'm rolling my eyes.
Skip, I did not. Look, I think the people have the misconception.
You egged him on.
No, I didn't, Skip.
You goaded him.
No, I didn't, Skip.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people think that I do these Dateline or 60 Minutes and I got a gotcha. I just ask a question. Skip, I had Gilbert Arenas on there, and I asked Gilbert, I said, well, what made you sign with the Wizards? He told a story how Abe Polian said, I will give you whatever you want if you get me out of this Michael Jordan haze. Skip, did you know that? Did you know that's why he signed? I didn't know that. So he told the story. People upset at me said, I'm a hater. How am I a hater? Gilbert just told a story. I didn't ask him.
Okay. You sure you didn't put Tony up?
I didn't put Tony. Skip, you know, look, all I do is like, if you got anything you want to promote, you got anything you want to sell, let's get that out the way first so we can go ahead and get, the interview and talk and back and forth. And I just asked him, Skip, because I follow Coach Dungy, and I say, Coach, you caught a lot of criticism when you said that Tom Brady wasn't the toughest or the greatest quarterback that you've ever coached against. That's all I asked. And so I was like, I said, you want to clarify?
The toughest to play against,
right?
Yeah, not toughest like physically.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So you want to clarify? I said, what was the criticism? He said, and Coach Dungy goes back. People don't know. people don't realize that Coach Dungy actually played with the Steelers. He led them in interceptions one year, Skip, the year they won the Super Bowl. And then, he said, I got tired of being traded and bounced around, and so I got into coaching. He was defensive coordinator at Pittsburgh. He was a D.C. In Minnesota, in Kansas. So, Skip, he's been around the block. And he says, for me, Shannon, guys that have an added dimension of the legs, that's what I'm judging. And I'm not saying, and he said, I'm not saying Tom Brady wasn't great, because he is great. He said, but the fear of a John Elway or Steve Young or guys that have, Aaron Rodgers, that have legs to get out of harm's way, we got the perfect defense call, and there's nothing there. He could take off and get a first down, or he could take off and then throw the ball over your head. So that's what I judged it against. But now Brady did go. Now, what Jenny didn't mention, that he's talking about 214, Coach Dungy had been retired almost a decade by then. So that wasn't his team the 214 finalists.
2014.
Right.
Yeah.
Tony wasn't the coach then.
Okay.
Chuck Pagano was. The last time he saw Tony beat him in the AFC Championship game. You remember that,
38-34 at Indianapolis.
You remember that, right, Skip?
Yep.
Okay, so with that being said, now Brady did go 5-3 against Tony Dungy, 2-1 in the playoffs. And
yep.
Brady had 14 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. That's not the greatest, but this is what Skip Bayless. Now, I've been trying to tell people, and you can know I'm not capping or lying in this situation. Skip Bayless has told me countless times Tom Brady would never respond to criticism like a LeBron James does. Michael Jordan would never respond. And lo and behold, what we found out is that Tom Brady is human, that he will respond to criticism. Tom, I appreciate that plug. Club Shay, we got like 500-600 extra subscribers thanks to you. Appreciate that. But Skip, I just think that Tony Dungy has a point. Skip, I don't take offense.
So you rank Tom sixth all time?
No. I don't take offense if someone says Tony Gonzalez or Jason Witten was tougher to defend. Skip, they're bigger. They may have bigger catch radiuses. They're tougher to tackle. They're 240, 250. Shannon was 225. That's okay, Skip. That doesn't diminish what I've done. That doesn't diminish what Tom's done. Because someone else might be tougher, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't diminish what you've done, Skip.
That all you got to say for yourself? By the way, before I launch on this, and I'm about to unleash on this, the story I read, he doesn't identify the fifth quarterback. I count Peyton and then Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, Steve Young, but there's one missing link here to get to six. Does he have Tom sixth, fifth, or sixth? Don't get into semantics.
He's just not number one. Where you and most people would have him on everybody's list, he's not number one.
Okay.
So let's deal with that.
All right. Now I'm going to deal with Coach Dungy. He is obviously a spiritual man,
very
a religious man, and for that I have the utmost regard and respect. But in a football context, this is pure blasphemy. For all the respect I've had for Coach Dungy, he just undercut about half of it with one statement here, because it's just preposterous. It's just foolishness. It's just such utter disrespect for the obvious GOAT at the toughest position to play in all of sports, quarterback. And I get it that, you know, if you want to say running quarterback, moving quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks are tougher to defend. But he started with his guy, Peyton, right?
Yes.
Because that's the guy he coached in Indianapolis. They did win a Super Bowl in the rain in Miami against Rex Grossman as the opposing quarterback.
Well, you won one against Jared Goff.
Okay. But
Jake DeLone.
Won 6 out of 9 that he played in. And remember, he should have won 2 more.
He should have lost 3.
No, he should have won 2 more. He had Eli beaten with a 65-yard drive with 2 minutes left. He threw a touchdown pass to Randy Moss. And all Belichick had to do was stop Eli Manning from scoring a touchdown, not a field goal, a touchdown, and Tom wins another ring. All Belichick had to do was hold Nick Foles under 33 points, and Tom has an 8th ring.
So what about the Rams? What if they'd have stopped Tom and not let him get in field goal range?
But they didn't.
Okay, then they didn't. You can't have it both ways. Well, one team didn't stop him.
We're not talking about the Rams. We're talking about Coach Belichick.
Skip, I'm saying you said he could have more. I'm saying he could have less.
Okay, so Tom Brady is 30-11 in the postseason.
Okay.
Peyton Manning, his guy, is 14-13. And I want to remind everybody, Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, 7 times he lost his first playoff game as a Colt.
Okay.
In those 7 times, once he was a 1 seed and twice he was a 2 seed. And they lost at home in their first playoff game.
Yeah.
When they were the toast of not only the town, but of the league.
Right.
And they blew it. So that was his reputation.
So Tom Brady never lost his first playoff game?
Okay, well, no, but he won 6 out of 9 Super Bowls. And what is Peyton? He's 2-2.
Yeah.
And what happened to Peyton? He got annihilated by the Legion of Boom, 43-8.
Yeah.
Tom did not get annihilated. He annihilated the Legion of Boom in the fourth quarter with 124 yards passing and 2 touchdowns just in the fourth quarter.
So when did we get quality points for close losses?
43-8. It was over like that. It
was over.
Okay, and then. It was a 7-point game against New Orleans, and Peyton Manning threw a pick 6. Remember, Tracy Porter took it 78 yards to the house?
I remember.
Okay, so you blew that one also. So how can we put Peyton Manning above Tom Brady? It's just it's foolishness.
So you just looking at Super Bowls. You're not looking at anything else.
But I get it because Peyton is his guy. But now I don't get it because Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago won his one and only Super Bowl. Okay. John Elway, you played with him and for him and love him, and I get it. And he's all-time. He's in my top 5. He was 2-3 in Super Bowls, and he got annihilated a couple times.
I promise you, the reason why John Elway ranks so high on everybody's list is that the team that he took to the Super Bowl, nobody else could have got him there. Okay. Nobody. So how many Hall of Famers on those teams that John took to the Super Bowl, other than Elway, how many other players made the Hall of Fame?
Okay, fair enough. I got it. But still, is he better than Tom overall? I don't think so. I mean, I get it if he's your guy and you want to fight for him.
No, but here's the thing. Some people, and we almost did this topic. Randy Moss went on T.O.'s podcast and says he's 1, T.O.'s 2, Jerry's 3 or 4. Some people might say Randy Moss was tougher to defend than Jerry Rice.
I would say that.
Some people might say T.O. was tougher to defend than Jerry, or he was tougher than Randy. Okay, that's their opinion, but that doesn't mean, Skip, that you take anything from Jerry.
So Coach Dungy put Steve Young ahead of Tom Brady. You just can't do it. You've lost all credibility with me. With me. You've lost all. Steve Young had a long-term reputation.
How many Super Bowls did he win?
He won 1 in 1 try.
Okay, he was 1-0. He was 1-0.
Just like
he won
Aaron
3,
Rodgers.
But he got 2 Super Bowl. He got 2 regular season MVP and a Super Bowl MVP, and he threw 6 touchdowns in 1 game. What's the most touchdowns Tom threw in a game?
I went through so many years of Dallas versus Steve Young.
Yes.
And they just didn't have a lot of respect for him. They thought that he would crack and he would crumble, that he would throw it to them as much as he threw it to his guys.
Well, if they just thought that, why'd they go get Dion? If they thought they had enough to beat him, why'd they go get time?
Well, why did Jimmy Johnson call a radio show to put it in big headline that I guarantee a win over Steve Young's 49ers in the NFC Championship game is because of Steve Young?
The same reason Dabo Swinney voted Ohio State 11th. So when he believed you got the superior team.
Do you think Steve Young is better than Tom Brady? Obviously
that was Coach Dungy. Okay.
What are you doing? Now you've left me behind. You've lost me completely.
Skip,
so now let's talk about mobility, shall we? Anybody who really knows the position of quarterback knows that Tom Brady has some of the best pocket feet in the history of this game. I'm not going to say he's at the top of pocket feet, but he is an absolute ballet dancer in the pocket, and it is difficult to master the footwork, the subtle movement required to buy a little bit of time to open a lane to find your third options. It's hard, and his feet are beautiful to watch if you know what you're looking for. Is he going to take off and run it? Obviously, he's not. He ran the ugliest-looking 40-yard dash in the history of the Combine. I give you that. He also has ballet dancer feet in the pocket.
Skip, I would like to think Coach Dungy played the quarterback position at Minnesota. He was a defensive back in the late 70s with the Steelers. So we're talking about 40-plus years. That might be longer than Coach Belichick has been in the National Football League. And he was on those great Steelers defenses. And he knows great defensive players, and he knows what caused those guys problems. And so for you to say, well, because Tom Brady is so great, well, he is great. That's not what Coach Dungy is saying, that he isn't great. He said the guys that caused me the most problems. I just knew Tom wasn't going anywhere, and if I could just get my guys in the position, we had a better chance. With these other guys, I could be in the right place. But because of their legs, Skip, they could get out of harm's way when Tom couldn't. That's all he's saying. Skip, don't make it more than what it is.
Well, I'm making it a lot because he put him 6th on the list.
Okay, he's 5th.
5th? Who's 5th? I don't know who's 5th.
Maybe talk about Joe.
Coach Dungy got confused.
No, he didn't get confused.
Maybe he just had a bad day.
No, bad
Maybe
day.
he's trying to hype your podcast. I don't know what he was doing.
Skip.
Maybe he was trying to drop a little bombshell so Club Shay could get some national attention.
No, that's not what we do. Well, although a lot of people have picked up some of the things we say. But Skip, no. Because someone is tougher for Skip, it's like it's a like factor. You might like this, and I might like that. That doesn't mean that is better than this.
Okay, I'm sorry, I get that, but I'm calling hogwash on Coach Dungy.
What?
Hogwash.
Skip, the man has been a defensive coordinator all these years, and he said the things that give them trouble. And he also said, and I hope that we release that part. He says people don't understand the huge benefit of having a defensive coordinator as a head coach. He says, because what I did on Friday is that I called the D-Scout team against Peyton in the 2 minutes. So I had a good idea so he would see this is what defensive coordinators are thinking against sets, against formations, against down and distance, area of the field, situations. So who people say is the greatest situational coach in NFL history? Coach Belichick. Who's the greatest defensive mind? Coach Belichick. So don't you think that played off immensely in helping Tom? Like I said, I believe a lot of general managers, you put true serum to them. If Coach Belichick had a Peyton Manning, he'd have 10 Super Bowls.
Where was Coach Belichick at the end of the first Eli Super Bowl? All he had to do is one stop. Eli went 75 yards for a touchdown to win the game. Just one stop.
Skip,
where was Coach Belichick against the backup quarterback for the Eagles, Nick Foles, who hung 41 on him? Where was he?
Let me ask you a
Genius
question.
not?
I want to know one thing. Where was Coach Belichick in the Super Bowl against Seattle when Malcolm Butler jumped the play? So you never give him credit for that.
I give him that. But it took Tom. They were down 24-14 going to the fourth quarter.
But it doesn't matter.
It's the Legion of Boom that had destroyed Peyton Manning.
Let me ask you a question. They were down how much? 24 to 10?
24-14.
So 24-14. So let me ask you a question. How many more points did the offense score? Not another point. That's Coach Belichick. But you won't mention that.
I did mention that.
No, all you did is say that Tom Brady came back from 2014.
Against the highest degree of difficulty, the Legion of Boom.
So, but he didn't.
An all-time great secondary.
Coach Belichick didn't let him back in the end zone. Remember, that's what the one time that Coach Belichick led a team in the end zone, they lost. Remember Philly? As you mentioned, Eli, they lost those Super Bowls, Skip. But the time that he kept them out, they won. But you won't give him credit for the wins, only blame for the losses.
All I know is that in my humble estimation, Coach Dungy is dead wrong about this, and I'd say most of the world agrees with me on this.
Good looking out, Coach Dungy.
Yeah.
He owed me one. He was solid. He was on my radio show when I was on Sirius, Skip. He used to call me. He was my guy on Mondays. So, Coach, he owed me a favor. So he called and gave me a solid.
Chat with him. He seems
did.
like
He
Now,
such
you
a
know,
guy.
Skip, you just said that Coach Dungy is honest, a God-fearing man, a church man. You think that man would lie?
That's all we got to say.
That's all I'm going to say,
You're getting
Jenny.
some good guests. You're getting some good guests, though, Shannon. I'm impressed. I'm waiting for you to put Skip on the hot seat.
You think Tom
maybe
will come
one
on?
time.
I need Tom to come on.
On your
yeah.
he needs to come on here and put you in your place.
Let's do that first.
That's what we need.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
Kawhi and the Clippers played spoiler on opening night when LeBron and the Lakers received their championship rings. It was Paul George who led the game in scoring with 33 points, while LeBron and Anthony Davis combined for only 40. The Clippers led by as many as 22, while the Lakers never had the lead once. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is joining us now. So, Chris, it all started last night. What was the biggest reason the Lakers lost this one?
Well, I think for the first quarter that they were blinded by the glare of those rings.
Bling, bling.
I think those championship rings blinded them, my goodness. But look, LeBron and AD just didn't play like top 5 players. That's really what it boils down to. And we understand why. I mean, again, they were basking in the celebration of their championship. That was a great ceremony with the family members, you know, presenting them with the rings. That was fantastic. Look, the 71-day layoff from last season, that's 30-something days less than you typically get. So I think all of those things are factored in. And let's remember, we saw the same thing last year. The Lakers came out sluggish in the opening night. The Clippers beat them. And it was very similar to what we saw last night. So I'm not going to put too much into the loss. But LeBron and AD just weren't themselves. It's as simple as that. LeBron played in spurts. He had some nice driving dunks at the basket, hit some nice three-pointers, but obviously didn't play his typical game. And AD never put his imprint on the game. I'll give him credit. He guarded Kawhi and made it tough on him. Kawhi shot 10 for 26. AD had a lot to do with that, with his length. But offensively, he wasn't a factor, nor was he a factor on the backboards. And I know that the Lakers want him to shoot more threes. He only shot 2 last night, but they want him to shoot about 5 a game. But they have to be careful not to just make AD a perimeter player.
Correct.
You also want to capitalize on him inside, and I don't think they did that last night. The role players were fine. Dennis Schroeder, you couldn't ask for much more. He almost had a triple-double. Montrezl Harrell gave them the same thing he gave the Clippers last year, and even Kyle Kuzma was good. But LeBron and AD just weren't themselves. And I don't expect to see LeBron kind of get into his midseason form for a while. I think he's going to have to ease himself into this season. And so that's what I saw last night.
You want to go? Go ahead.
No, you go. I want to hear your excuses.
Go ahead.
Come on.
You already gloating over there. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know you just Sharpe.
You know, Chris, Clippers 116, Lakers 109 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It has a ring to it. If the tables were turned right now, you guys would be all over me saying, I told you so. They don't have a leader. They don't have guts. They don't have heart. They don't have that dog in them. They're going to come all apart. No, they're not. My biggest takeaway last night was the Clippers are even a little better than they were a year ago when they were favored going into the playoffs to win it all. And the Lakers aren't quite as good as they were a year ago. And I will give you ring ceremonies because, as Chris knows, and the reason I made a big bet with Shannon on this game, and he gave me 4 points and the Clippers, was it's a long history in this league of parties pooped, of ring ceremonies ruined by the visiting team, because it is hard to get your mind back on suddenly, wait, we got to do it again right now? Yeah, you got to do it. And those guys have been sitting in their locker room stewing that the game started 20 minutes late because you were out there crowing about your championship rings with videos from all your family. And I loved it. I thought it was inspired. The whole ceremony, it moved me with all the family videos to introduce each ring. Yeah. It was great. It went on for a long time, and I don't think the Clippers loved it. But to me, Chris, the final irony of the night that had me laughing out loud by myself as I watched this game unfold in the third and fourth quarter was that the man who got the most scathing criticism of all the playoffs, it was leveled by this man across from me, was at playoff P, and as Shannon called him, playoff P-E-E. And what did playoff P do to Shannon Sharpe's bet yesterday? He PEE'd all over your bet.
He did. He got you 4K.
He got you back. He said, watch this, Mr. Sharpe. And he just flat out took the game over. The Clippers had taken the game over in the first quarter. I thought it was a tour de force by the Clippers, in part because the Lakers weren't ready to play. But then all of a sudden, right on schedule, it looked like Clippers versus Denver in games 5, 6, and 7, when they were up, as you know, 15 and then 19 and then 12. It looked like last night they were up 22 late in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they lost it. They missed 12 out of 13 shots, and I thought, uh-oh, microcosm of last year, here we go again. They lost the lead all the way down to 2 at halftime, and then something happened at halftime with the Clippers. Somebody said something about not again, not this time, and as Kawhi said after the game, we played with more pride tonight. We just kept sharing the basketball the way we should, and in the end, we had each other's back, and we all stayed positive. That was a shot at Montrez, a new Laker, because they viewed Montrez as the malcontent who tore them apart internally.
Why you taking a shot at Trez? He's not in your locker room. The difference is, Skip.
He's not, and that's the point.
The difference is that last night when you missed those 12 or 13 shots, the Nuggets didn't go cold with you. They made shots. And then once they got the lead, you folded like a lawn chair. But guess what? But that's okay. You gloat. He over there key, Chris. You can't see him. But you ought to see him. He came out here at the stop of the show and banging on the desk and all talking about Jolly Ranchers and Kawhi shoes. But his day gonna come. Because I congratulated him, and all the Laker Nation, we congratulated the Clippers on the 2-time opening night champs. That's a huge accomplishment for you, because you won nothing. But your day coming, Skip Bayless. Now, I want you to have that same energy in about 5 months.
Well, I hope Marc Gasol has some energy, because he looked like a glacier last night. He looked like a liability. There's no Dwight, there's no JaVale, but there is a Marc Gasol who went 0 of 0 last night and got in early foul trouble.
Well, Skip, he's going to have to get, Chris, he's going to have to get himself in shape, because he was a step, first of all, when you're his age and his size, you can ill afford to be a step slow. You need to be a step early. And because he was a step slow, he got himself into foul trouble on Serge Ibaka and a few of the other guys. But that's okay. In a month, 1 month from today, watch how we look in January.
Watch how we looked last night with Serge Ibaka manning the lane and guarding the rim, as opposed to Montrezl Harrell, who's about 6'7". He's a liability on defense, and he was last night.
Trez gave us what we needed.
Yeah. Okay.
You just worry about Serge. You saw what AD did to Serge. Put him in the blender and took him to the house and dunked on him.
Yeah, one time he did, but that was the only one time, because AD was having a hard time scoring at the basket.
They doubled him.
Huh?
They came and doubled him.
There's Serge, and there's Zoo, and now there's Nicholas Batum, who's 6'9" and long 6'9", and has high basketball IQ. You put Luke Kennard and you put Nicholas Batum into the rotation, and all of a sudden they know how to play. They know how to get a lead home. This team is much smarter, which is what Kawhi said after Game 7. We need to improve our IQ, and they did.
Chris, have you ever heard someone hype Luke Kennard as much as Skip is hyping Luke Kennard?
Yeah. He can play. He can play basketball.
Skip,
Watch.
I would say this, and I bet you feel this way. I don't know if you'll admit it. Paul George was great. We all saw that last night. But I have got question marks about Paul George. I think we all do. That was nice. Remember his first game last year?
Yeah.
When he came back off the injury?
Yeah, dropped like 36, 38, yeah.
With what we saw happen in the playoffs and what we've seen happen in playoffs recently with him, whether it was in Oklahoma City or obviously last year with the Clippers, I'm not sure I can count on him as my second guy. I like him. He's capable, but we've seen too much recently to know if he can get it done basically every game in the playoffs. Not going to have 30 points. But can I count on you for a solid 22 every night in the playoffs as Kawhi's second guy? I'm not so sure, and one regular season game is not going to convince me.
Okay, I give you this. Paul George is nothing but a complimentary star, but he's also an all-star. He's also capable of making first-team all-defense. Last night, the stat was that as a primary defender, on different Lakers, they shot a combined 1 for 8 against Paul George. So he's playing high-level defense as well as scoring the ball on offense.
We get in shape.
And, Chris, this is what should horrify Shannon Sharpe more than anything. My best player last night went 1 for 8 from 3, and we still won in a cakewalk. My third best player, who some nights is my second best player, Marcus Morris, was not able to play last night because of sore knees. Chris, I think you jumped off the Clippers bandwagon prematurely.
Well, I'll give you. I don't think the Clippers played that well last night.
I don't either.
I thought the first quarter, and you're right, the Lakers obviously were in a funk, but you saw the player movement and the ball movement Ty Lue had been talking about, right? First quarter. I thought from that point on, they got back into what they did last year, which was a lot of ISO. I thought Kawhi, and I love Kawhi, and I don't think he's this type of player, but at times he looked like a ball hawk. He was taking so many shots. He was 10 for 26, like you said, 1 for 8 from 3, and then they went to Paul George, and it was the same thing. ISO, give it to PG, and he just happened to be so hot that he took advantage of it. I think going forward, we will see them get more adept at doing the player movement and ball movement and stay with that consistently. And I do think that'll make them a better team and more dangerous.
Paul George played well. The Clippers didn't play well. Paul George won him that game, and you know that. That 15 he had in the third and that 11, especially like at the 5-minute mark, from down 5 minutes until the end of the third, he couldn't be stopped. He couldn't miss. He had a 4-point play, had a 3 and 1. But that's okay, Skip. That's okay.
I want you to keep that same energy, telling me that the Clippers are overrated and that they'll be done sooner than later. That's what you're trying to tell me. I want to hear that again all season.
No, I'm trying to tell you the Lakers are not going anywhere. We're still the best in the West, and don't mess with us.
We did.
Well,
We
they do
messed with
have
them.
the rings to show for it for last season.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant's Nets debut couldn't have gone much better, coming in a 125-99 win over the Warriors. KD finished with 22 points on 7 of 16 shooting, while Kyrie led all scorers with 26. It was Durant's first game since June 2019, and after the game, Steve Kerr said KD looked exactly the same on the court. Well, Chris Broussard is still with us now. I want to ask you, Chris, about how KD looked on the court. How close is Kevin Durant to being Kevin Durant?
Well, look, I had no concerns at all about Kevin Durant returning to form. And last night just confirmed that, he was great. He was able to cut like he wanted to. He was aggressive. He had no hesitation. He obviously went to the rim and dunked it. He could get where he wanted to on the court. He could do his one-on-one moves and create space. Like, he did everything he wanted to do. But I'm going to say, with all that said, he still was only... That was maybe 70% of Kevin Durant, and I say it because he shot 7 for 16 from the floor against a team that's not a great defensive team. Draymond Green was on the bench, not on the floor. So for Kevin Durant to shoot 7 of 16, I think that shows that he was rusty, and he will shake that rust off, and that's when he really will be the guy that he was, before the injury. I think he's going to make a run at the MVP award. And I see nothing to make me regret saying Brooklyn is the best team in the East, and that's who will face the Lakers in the finals. Kevin Durant was terrific.
He was. Chris, I also said this. I think of any superstar player that's ever suffered this injury, I think he was the best equipped to deal with it. Simple for the fact he's not a jumper, speed is not really in his game, and he's not heavy. Skip, he's not a 270-pound center. Right. He's 7 foot tall, probably weigh, 210, 220? So it wasn't going to affect him, say, like a leaper or a big guy, say a Shaq or one of those big guys like that, Skip. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with you, Chris. He looked a little rusty. He got off to the great start, first 3 shots, and then he goes 4-13. I'm not worried about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant always has been and always will be able to put the ball in the bucket. But as we progress, as the season goes along, the shots that he missed last night, he won't miss those shots. He's too good of a shooter. He still was able to get to his spots. He was able to put the ball on the floor. And like I said, Chris, I was telling Skip earlier, what I like to do, if a guy suffers an injury, okay, how did he suffer the injury? And will he go back to the very way he suffered the injury and make that same move? or is it fear? Is it in the back of his head? I watched it. Not even a second thought in his mind. He's like, I'm good to go. And he was crossing over. He was planting, starting, and going. So I'm not worried about KD. I agree with you, Chris. I believe as the season progresses, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, Kevin Durant will look like the Kevin Durant the last time we saw him pre-Achilles injury.
So not only to me did Kevin Durant look like Kevin Durant last night, he looked like the best player on the planet. It looked like he's back.
You see how far he go, Chris? You see how far he go?
I'm sorry.
Give him an inch.
I saw nothing to make me skeptical at all of rust or hesitation. In fact, I watched Kevin on Friday night in his final preseason tune-up, and he was spectacular that night. Scored 25 in 23 minutes. Again, just a preseason game, but he is moving without any limitation that I see, any psychological limitation. It's not like he's favoring, protecting. I saw the same spring as always because, to your point, it's not explosive spring to start with.
Right.
I saw the same quickness I've always seen in Kevin because it's not extraordinary quickness to start with. He's 7 feet tall. He's a long 7-footer who can shoot threes like they're free throws with just effortless, just flick of the wrist threes. And what I loved about this team the most last night, I don't know why, under Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni, who, as I always said, it's Coach Antoni because there's no D in D'Antoni. But
Steve Nash definitely wasn't playing no D.
When they were together in Phoenix, that was the last thing they were thinking of is how do we defend? Well, you just outscore.
Right.
So last night, this team looked like it was committed to playing high-level defense. They were flying around on defense, starting with Kevin Durant. What number is he wearing now? 7? 7. I don't know where that came from. Mickey Mantle. I don't know what it is. But he went from 35 to 7. I started to say 35, but he's now 7. Every time I looked up, 7 was in the middle of something on defense. He had 3 steals last night in fairly modest minutes. That team looked like it's realized if you disrupt on defense, if you deflect, if you steal, if you block, then all of a sudden you detonate the offense the other way, and they have the greenest light under Coach Nash, where they can just pull up on fast breaks, and anybody at any time can shoot a 3, 1-on-3 on a fast break. So to me, that team looks like a superpower already just on opening night. And I agree with what Chris said. There's no Draymond, obviously, and that was the worst team in basketball last year. They're starting a rookie center who had his moments late against the shock troops. But, hey, this Nets team is so deep and so explosive with Karis LeVert as the Manu Ginobili coming off the bench, bat out of hell, getting his minutes, getting whatever shot he wants, disrupting on defense as well. Man, to me, the bottom line was I sat back and said, number one, they don't need James Harden. They don't need to tear this team apart for James Harden because it's already the best team in the East, as you guys agree. And number two, if I'm Boston or if I'm Philly or I'm Toronto, I'm saying we got to try. We got to give up a little more to make sure we could close a deal for James because I think they all need James if they're going to compete with this team this year.
Chris, you see what he does? Skip is the type of guy that if you take him out to a nice dinner, you take him somewhere and you say, get what you want, he goes and orders the most expensive thing on the menu. Well, let me get the 12-ounce Kobe. Let me get the bottle of the Rothschild. Skip, if I take it,
Not me.
That doesn't,
I'm a cheap date.
That doesn't mean get everything you want. We just being hospitable. When we say, how does Kevin...
I just ordered chicken and broccoli. How expensive
Chris,
can that be?
The question was, how did Kevin Durant look? And what does he do? He look like the best player on the planet. Why not just... You see how you ruined it?
Well, the quote-unquote best player on the planet, the GOAT that you tell me was out of shape because he's been drinking too much wine and smoking too many cigars.
Durant had 71 days. Okay. Kevin Durant had 18 months. Most of the teams had 9 months to get ready. He had 2 months. Come on, Skip.
He got every break in the world in the bubble. He got it all. It just fell right into his lap. You got to turn it around and close the deal. You got 3 or 4 more good years. You better max it.
Kawhi had an extra month of rest. Kawhi was supposed to be playing with us.
Yeah.
He got an extra month, didn't he, Chris? But anyway, Kevin Durant looked good.
Skip, you know unless LeBron just falls off and just Father Time just grabs him by the neck and chokes him during the regular season, the only way Kevin Durant is going to take the best player in the world award from LeBron is to beat him in the finals. If they meet in the finals and LeBron's got AD, who is better than Kyrie, they both have good supporting cast, that's when Kevin Durant can take that mantle. But not on opening night. That's for darn sure.
Chris, he already did it twice in LeBron's house in Game 3s. He outplayed him twice.
With J.R. Smith is the second best player.
With a 73-win team.
Oh, stop it. They begged for Kevin to come and save them.
No, they didn't have to beg.
Draymond was crying on the phone because they lost a 3-1 lead. They should have lost to Cleveland in 2015, even without Kevin Love and Kyrie. They weren't that good without Kevin Durant.
But you do know Kevin Durant played for the private jet for them to come visit them in the Hamptons because he needed them as bad as they needed them.
Yeah.
You know that, Skip, so don't do this.
So you know what I also love about Kevin? I don't understand it, but I love it because it's Jordan-esque. He's always got some new weird chip on his shoulder, inexplicable chip.
Oh, you saw the interview last night?
Did you see it? Can we take
I thought it was just me, Skip.
I know.
I thought it was just me. I'm
what was this? Did you see what he did to Barkley last night?
You know, Kevin, there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year. So you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You know you been saying stuff, we don't know you saying. I've never seen anybody give you just a one-word answer, man.
Now he's got it in for Charles. I don't know why.
He was short with everybody except Ernie.
I know. Something's going on. But you know how he is.
But Skip, hold on. I was like, he really, is it just, maybe it's just me. But he was really, and then I was like, okay, He's
got some new bone to pick with those guys because they said one thing about him.
Maybe somebody said something within the time that he was injured.
I agree.
And maybe it didn't come from everybody, but he's like, KD strikes me as the guy, if you say something about somebody says something and you don't defend it, you're basically co-signing it, so I got it in for you too. So Barkley might have said it, so he blaming Kenny and Shaq. Because they played. He leave Ernie out of the equation because Ernie doing what he does. But the other guys, I was like, well, dang, he really short. Maybe it's just me.
So he's motivated, which is why I picked him to win the MVP. Because it's going to be hard to have enough points and rebounds on that team.
Because you look at Paul George and how he did the interview, and you look at Kevin Durant, how Paul George expanded. You know, they asked him a question, he answered, and then expanded on it.
Did he? He was volunteering.
And then Charles even asked him about their preferential treatment. He said, Charles, hey, you've been in this league. You know when you put that work in, you get perks. You do.
Right.
The Katie interview was really the highlight for me. I love how they also acknowledged how short he was. But Katie pays attention to social media too much. Just focus on your game. Chris, we appreciate you joining us. It's going to be a fun season.
No mercy.
Washington quarterback Dwayne Haskins apologized after pictures on social media emerged of him at a club, and y'all know what kind of club I'm talking about, with a large group and no mask on. Haskins' status for Week 16 is now in question since he could face disciplinary action. And Alex Smith's status is also uncertain due to a calf injury. According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, Washington remains a heavy favorite to win the NFC East. So, Shannon, how will this impact Sunday's game against Carolina?
The only reason Dwayne Haskins is still on this ball club is because one quarterback is on IR and the uncertainty of Alex Smith. Skip, he already has a COVID protocol violation. So this to say you didn't know.
That was because he had tried to get a friend into the team hotel on Saturday night. Check.
Correct, which is a violation.
It was.
Now, he got this potential violation, Skip, after he stunk the joint up. So instead of going home and not let anybody see your face, you want to go out. Now, forget the fact that, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, his head coach, Ron Rivera, just finished his last round of chemo about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
He's highly susceptible to this disease. Dwayne Haskins says, I don't give a flip. My teammates are counting on me. One quarterback on IR, the other is nursing a calf injury or the little bit of calf that he has left.
Yeah.
You know what?
And they're still in first place in the East.
You know what? I really want to go. I really want to go jack off some bread, but you know what, guys? I can't let my teammate down. Skip, I can't, they're counting on me. Nah, forget y'all. This is about me. I care what y'all want to do. I know y'all doing the right thing, but I ain't going to do it. I don't see a scenario in 2021 where he's on this roster. Now, Ron Rivera tried to make it abundantly clear early in the season, Skip. When now he didn't demote him to second team, he demoted him all the way down to inactive. And he goes and does this. And this is why it's so hard for you to win a championship, Skip, because one guy can really blow the whole ship up. Does he realize what happened with the Broncos?
Yeah.
Broncos had a guy test positive. The other quarterbacks in the room was not, because you got to put cameras everywhere, Skip, because they see everything now. NFL got cameras in everybody's building, so they can see. You can't lie to them. They say, you know what we're going to make you do? We're going to go play with a lawnmower repairman. Now, I'm just being facetious, Skip, but they went and had to get a guy, put him on the practice squad as a wide receiver and play him at quarterback.
Yep.
That's what the NFL did. They said, we don't care anything about competitive fairness. We care about stopping this outbreak or the spread. For Dwayne Haskins to do that at this moment, Skip, you one game, you win one game and you're the division champ.
You are.
And he's so selfish. He cares so much about Dwayne Haskins and not about his teammates. This is what he does.
Yep.
See, for me, Skip, now I can't trust you. I can't have you on my team. Not at that position. You play the most important position, and I can't trust you to make that one decision. That's the one decision, Skip. I understand, Skip. Guys, everybody's not like you, Shay. I get that. But in this situation, during a pandemic, it's a little different. And you have to be willing to sacrifice that. Washington, after the season, wash your hands.
With you on all you said. But before I address that part of this equation, I first speak as a Cowboy fan clinging to perhaps delusional hope. I'm enjoying this from a distance because all of a sudden it's possible that Washington is faced with its Ben DiNucci moment this Sunday. I don't know Alex Smith's status. There are reports that he seems like he's on his way back and he may be able to play on Sunday.
A real chance.
Real chance. God bless him. I'll knock on wood for him. But it's a calf problem. They're notoriously difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
And he could be at jeopardy if he tries to play for it to go again.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his physical status will be on Sunday. But if it's in doubt, you're going to have to reach down on the depth chart to one Taylor Heineke from Old Dominion, undrafted. He did start one game a couple of years back for Carolina.
Oh, the Brewski, old Brewski, old Taylor Brewski. That's what they call it.
Yeah, that's what they call him. There's also on the practice squad one Steven Montez, undrafted rookie out of Colorado, who yesterday happened to like a tweet that called Dwayne Haskins garbage. He liked it.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a little dissension in the ranks.
Skip, I think there's not a question of what people in that locker room think of him. Because anybody that will continuously put themselves in front of the team.
Yeah, Steven Montez, undrafted out of Colorado, rookie, might have spoken for the veterans in the locker room when he did that.
Yes.
Not that he was speaking for them, but it might mirror or echo what they would be saying.
Guys in the Skip, and sometimes you've been around locker rooms enough to know. The guys in the locker room know everything about a player in the locker room. Now, the perception that some media might have or some people outside that building, but you can't fool those people in that building because they see you every day and they know you just as well as your family because you're spending 8-9 hours a day, sometimes 5, 10, 15 years with a person. So they know you. And for him to say that, Skip, that's not an accident.
Okay. So my team was forced in a pivotal game at Philadelphia. I think it was on Sunday night.
It was.
Sunday night. We were forced to play a 7th-round pick out of James Madison named Ben DiNucci.
Yeah.
His initials are B-A-D. Bad. And he was bad that night. So to me, it would be fair as fair. Washington should face its Ben DiNucci moment this Sunday. They flexed the game to late afternoon, so now it's right up against the Cowboy game.
So you got to play.
So I want to see Steven Montez, who liked that garbage tweet on Dwayne Haskins, I want to see him start a game as an undrafted rookie out of Colorado.
I mean, obviously he's going to have to test. But a lot of people, Skip, for him, if he's not allowed to be around the team, hell, he can't really learn the plays. Hell, he there every day. How the hell he going to learn on Zoom away from the team? He need all the practice he can get.
Okay.
Does he realize how bad he looked on Sunday, Skip?
It was actually the best game he's played this year because those first 4 games he started, they were really garbage. Really. He had an average QBR of 30 in those 4 games.
The only thing that saved him is his defense was hellacious.
Yep. So he actually had a QBR of 58 in this game, but it was 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. They hung in. They lost 20-15 at home to Seattle. And then he went out and did that. Okay. For the record, this isn't 20/20 hindsight. I said on this show repeatedly, I do not like Dwayne Haskins enough to take him in the first round. They took him with the 15th overall pick, and by all accounts, the owner wanted this, that nobody else wanted to take Dwayne Haskins. My fear was he was a product. Remember what he was throwing to at Ohio State? McLaurin, Paris Campbell, Olave. Dobbins is running the ball behind offensive line that protected him like Fort Knox, right? Well, it's not that hard to light defenses up, especially Michigan's defense, as he did in that game where they just blew out Michigan, as you recall, at Ohio State. So the point is that I just didn't like him anyway, but I didn't even know about his makeup. That's an even bigger problem than the lack of ability.
It's not, Skip. It's really, when guys get into your building, it's really hard to tell. It's away from the building that exposes who a player, who he is at his core. See, discipline requires you to do your very best, even when you think no one else is watching.
Yep.
But my grandpa used to say, Skip, the night has 1,000 eyes. On most nights, it has 1,002.
I don't think she was original with that one.
No. It has 1,002 because somebody sees you. Now, see, did you think anybody saw him, Skip? He thought nobody saw him. Skip, does he know what this is? Does he know how many marriages and how many lives this camera phone has ruined? Or how many it would have ruined if it was 30, 40 years in the making? So in the last 20 years, how many lives have this thing ruined, Skip? Millions. And still...
I don't know if I could go to millions, but maybe.
It's cost jobs. It's cost... I'm not just talking about us, people we hear about. I can assure you.
So, Washington, the playing field is now leveled. You get your Ben DiNucci moment.
You all about for selfish reasons, Skip. I'm trying to have an honest conversation.
No, I got what you're saying, and I agree with everything you just said. But I'm a Cowboy fan, and I got maybe false hope, but I got a little hope that I'm clinging to.
Jalen Hurts going to put your hope
holding on to that hope.
Jalen Hurts going to put your hopes to rest.
You're still holding on to it.
Let's go, Jay Hurts.
Given up on it.
Now you love him.
Yep, I do. I love it.
Season for Skip and his Cowboys.
No mercy.
Christmas Day is coming up, guys, and it's an NFL special as my Vikings take on Drew Brees and the Saints. Coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern on Fox. Also available on NFL Network and streaming on Prime Video. I feel like I should say, all I want for Christmas is a Vikings win. Well, LeBron managed only 22 points on 7 of 17 shooting in the Lakers' 116-109 opening night loss to the Clippers. After the game, LeBron said he turned his ankle, which limited him to only 28 minutes of play, including missing the last 7 minutes and 51 seconds of the game. LeBron also said, quote, "I'm happy today is over with and we can focus on the season." So, Shannon, why do you think LeBron sat for the final 7:51?
Well, it could have been the ankle, skill, but I don't believe LeBron James is going to play heavy minutes the first month of the season. It doesn't make sense to me for him to play that many coming off a shortened season. Now you have a condensed regular season, a guy that rolled his ankle slightly, and the last thing that you need, a guy trying to play in a game, Skip, and he tweaks that ankle even more, and now he misses a week or 2 weeks. The last thing that you need is a setback when you're trying to get conditioning. Skip, you know how hard... When you first started coming to the league, Skip, you remember training camp was like 8 weeks. Guys would come to camp out of shape and use camp to get into shape for the regular season. And I believe that's what LeBron does.
He'll go to Hawaii, or go to Puerto Rico or somewhere else.
Yeah, guys were not, it doesn't take it like, they wasn't as serious about training as they are now. I just believe LeBron is not going to play heavy minutes. I believe he's going to gradually build his way back to where the LeBron that we saw at the end of the season, and he'll be fine. There was no reason to risk him playing any more than what he played, given what had happened. He has slightly twisted, rolled his ankle, and the likelihood of him not playing major minutes to start the season. So I'm good with what I saw.
He did say after the game, I should be fine for Christmas Day. So the ankle was not a huge issue for him. In fact, he was making jokes after the game about his ankle. I'll ice it, then I'll drink some wine that will flow right down to the ankle.
Yeah.
Wine heals everything, especially the 4th or 5th class. Well, I don't know.
Whatever. Stop telling the man business.
Okay. So the point is that 2 things have shocked me about LeBron. He is Iron Man. He is the most durable superstar I've ever observed closely. Seriously, in all seriousness. And when he jumped right up from the ankle, I tweeted that immediately. He's the most, he is unparalleled when it comes to impervious to any injury like that. Anything that would knock out some other player, he just jumps right up and kind of shakes it off and walks on it a second. And he continued to play for a couple more minutes, and he looked fine to me.
Right.
Did you see him limp?
No.
He limped a little bit toward the bench when he left, but I don't know. Maybe that was somewhat for show. But here's the point, that I am shocked he got out of shape. I'm just shocked. He is, what do we always hear? He spends $1 million a year on his fitness. Well, how do we know that, first of all?
He spent $2 million.
Okay, so he spends, did you audit it? Did you know it? Okay. Why wouldn't he spend who wouldn't? Everybody should spend, every professional athlete should spend $1 million a year. Whatever they make, if they make enough, they should spend at least $1 million, right?
Yeah.
It's everything. It's your lifeblood going forward. It will extend your earning years.
If you spend 5% of your annual income, that would be well within.
It's like, why should it only be LeBron who does that, right?
But it seems to be that he's the only one. I mean, I'm sure now, Skip, there's a lot of guys that have trainers on call, have personal chefs. It's a lot different. Everybody, even the guys that's not LeBron or Kevin Durant or guys that's making $30, $40 million, guys that's making 5, 10, and rightfully so.
Okay, so I realize it's the shortest turnaround ever, and yet he's Iron Man. And so I thought, well, he just stays in shape because that's what he does.
No.
He posted a couple of videos. I'm back in the lab. I'm pumping iron. I'm doing whatever he does. I don't know if he does any cardio or not.
Skip, you know one thing, is that it takes you a hell of a long time to get in shape. It doesn't take you nearly that kind of time to get out of shape. And you only get in shape by doing what you do for the sport that you play.
I just thought he was so obsessed with career stat records, which are extremely important to him in the GOAT debate, because it's hard to fight 6-0 with 6 MVPs in the finals, that ghost up in Chicago. And he's got a shot at passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the all-time points list,
right? Do that.
He's got a shot at passing Magic Johnson.
We're gonna do that.
All-time assists.
We're gonna do that
for the Lakers. It's not Stockton, but it's
Magic.
Okay?
I don't believe anybody catching Stockton.
Right, well, nobody's going to catch Stockton. I think that's the one record where I say, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
I used to think that about Kareem, but LeBron has a chance, but he's going to have to be durable and consistent in his minutes played.
Right.
So it shocked me last night that Vogel said after the game, he had a minutes restriction.
Yes.
So I assume he wanted to keep him under 30.
Yes.
So he tweaks his ankle and he gets to 28. And I think LeBron does what LeBron wants to do.
Right.
He's the co-head coach. But they agreed, probably on eye contact, okay, that's enough at 28 minutes, right?
Yeah, but Skip, maybe if the game was at, 1 point, like I said, when he sat down, you said it was 7. Mm-hmm. Now, if he sat down for 3 or 4 minutes, but I could probably stiffen. Maybe if they were down by 1 or 2, but it ballooned to like 16. So there's no sense in bringing him back in that situation.
So at that point, did he see the handwriting on the sort of empty Staples walls? Did he just look around and say, we're not winning this game? Because you're only 7 down with 7:51 left. But I would think you'd have a shot.
But that's when he took his break. What were they when he would have normally come back in the game? Were they still only 7 down?
No, they immediately fell behind by 17.
Okay, so see.
Then it was game over.
Right.
What if he had toughed it out and said, I think we could win this
Let me tell you what a guy toughed it out. You remember Giannis rolled his ankle in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And he tried to play the next day, and what happened? Mm-hmm. He ended up missing the rest of the playoffs because he did that. Why would you risk it on opening night? Run the risk of one game. It's one game.
Who's your arch rival? Who's the team in the basement?
Skip. You willing to blow your whole season to beat your crosstown rival?
I don't think he even tweaked it. I think it's just fine.
Skip, you saw that ankle.
He was scoffing about it after the game. I've seen him roll it much harder than that. That was a tweak. It was a little half roll.
But here's the thing.
I've seen him roll it completely over. He did it in the finals, and I said, uh-oh.
What you see?
And he bounced right back up.
But see, and then if he tweaked, you're like, oh, he over. Why are you bringing it up? Why are you mentioning your ankle? Michael Jordan would have played through that. Now the guy tweaks his ankle. You see the guy roll it. And then now you want him to get out there in an opening night game. One game. I can see it, Skip, if it's game 6. It's game 7. We're in the playoffs. But you're talking about a regular season opening night. You want him to risk further injury to beat the Clippers.
So are you looking down your nose at the Clippers at that point saying, who even cares about you guys?
At them eye to eye.
Are you just saying, you stepchildren, go back to the basement?
Skip,
you can have this game? Is that what you're saying?
Skip.
Or are you building in an excuse? This is high IQ. This is playing chess. Are you building an excuse for the rest of your teammates to say, well, yeah, we lost because LeBron didn't want to play the rest of the way. So
how can you be on a level playing field if you're 17-0? 17 championships to 0. You'll never be equal. You'll never be seen as a peer. How is that possible?
In their history, have they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Marcus Morris with Ty Lue coaching? No.
Skip, it does not, Skip, you know good and well, it doesn't matter what the Clippers do. They'll never be seen on an equal playing field with the Lakers.
Well, who was the favorite going into the playoffs? The odds makers said Clippers over Lakers.
Skip.
Interesting.
The Lakers.
Everybody was on the Clippers bandwagon.
You know, Lakers are a gold standard franchise. They are a gold standard. The Lakers, the Knicks franchise, not serving the Knicks right now. The Boston Celtics. That's it.
I know LeBron was sipping his wine out of his golden goblet last night.
They're going to have another shot. Going to have another one tonight, too.
Let him live. Let him live. He loves his wine.
Living.
He loves his fine things. I mean,
we're the champ.
Hey, little wine can't hurt anyone. Am I the only one who enjoys a little wine? Okay.
I'm going to have milk bottle when I get home.
No mercy. The Rockets get their season underway tonight as the tension between James Harden and the team continue to rise. According to a report, Harden has gotten into multiple verbal confrontations with teammates, including one with rookie Jayshawn Tate that resulted in Harden throwing a basketball at the rookie's head. And the latest report this morning is that Harden's status for tonight could be in question after social media posts show him at a club, yes, the same that Haskins was visiting, which would be in violation of the league's COVID protocol. So, Shannon, what happens with James Harden now?
I just read what Jenny was talking about, and it says that the Houston Rockets are cooperating with the NBA, reviewing the footage, and to see if he is, he's probably going to miss tonight. But I'm going to find James Harden. My grandfather, when we were growing up, Skip, he used to tell my uncles and aunts, he said, you never reward negative behavior. Now, James Harden is lashing out because he wants to get out. Now, had James Harden says, I want to be traded, handle it like an adult, I said, look, James, we're going to try to find the best situation for you. But we need you to work with us. Keep quiet, come be professional, and we're going to try to get maximum dollar because you're a valuable asset. But we will try to accommodate you. But you coming here and trying to start confrontation with teammates and that's not going to happen. Now, I'm going to find you. Whatever the maximum for conduct detrimental is, I'm going to find you. And you're not going anywhere until I can get compensation that I deem as appropriate. Now, that's all James Harden. James Harden is throwing, I think James Harden is 30, 31 years of age. He's throwing a temper tantrum. It's the kid that can't get candy in the store, and he lays out on the floor. And my grandmother used to tell my brother, now, you boy, wherever you show out, you get whoa out. I'll lay right down there with him. If I'm the general manager, I'm going to lay on the floor kicking and screaming, too. You ain't going, James. You ain't going. We not trading you until we get equal value. It's as simple as that, Skip. Now, this is ridiculous. This is utterly ridiculous. Skip, he knows it. That's why he was delayed in the training camp, Skip, because he was in the strip club and he had to wait 6 days. And he did this again on purpose. So I'm going to take his money on purpose. And I'm not trading him until I get compensation. So since you want to act like a jerk, I'm going to be an even bigger jerk.
So I hear where you're going. I'm going to go another mile. It's obvious that James Harden is trying to act his way out of Houston.
Yes!
It's just painfully obvious, childishly obvious. Okay, got that. The problem with the NBA for owners and GMs is that the players have the power much more than they have in your league.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. No question.
So it's hard to pull this kind of stunt and get away with it, like win with this kind of attitude or MO to get out.
Right.
You try this in the NFL, you wind up, you go nowhere fast.
Skip, you remember when T.A. tried that in Philly?
He did. Yep.
Andy says, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to go on and send you home.
Okay. But precedent got set when New Orleans said, no, we're going to hang on to Anthony Davis.
Right.
And several of the executives have been quoted since, even the owner's been quoted since, saying that was a mistake. He pouted. It was a sour, sad situation. It was contagious in the locker room. Nobody liked it. We had a miserable year because he was miserable, and it made us miserable. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I think it's probably time for Houston to do what you would say don't do, but it's time to take 75 cents on the dollar.
No, give me 90.
90%?
90.
Okay.
85.
Somewhere in there. Okay, I got you.
Because you're not getting a James Harden superstar back in return.
No. Now it's desperation time. I thought they were going to try to get this done before opening night. Now, for James, opening night could get pushed back away, right. So maybe they got a little moratorium here. Maybe they got a little leeway here, a little lead time to get this done. Obviously, all the reports say Sixers still interested, Boston interested, Toronto interested, maybe even Denver interested in the West. But clearly, after what we saw from the Nets last night, they look like nuclear superpower. Yeah. That all of a sudden, it's time for Boston, Sixers, Toronto to up the ante.
But wouldn't you want to see what your roster looked like before in the regular season game before you added James Harden? Because Brooklyn was thinking we might need James, and after opening night, no, we don't need James. Wouldn't you want to look at your roster like 1 or 2 games?
Unless you know Houston is over the proverbial barrel right now, and that you could steal James Harden. That now you're playing chicken with Houston right up to opening night deadline to say, okay, well, what if we just give you this? Would you take this?
Yeah. No, but you know what, Skip? I would do that, but I'm going to find him for conduct detrimental. I'm going to take as much money as I possibly can, and then I might think about trading him. But I'm going to get, because Skip, he did this out of spite. This was not a situation where it was an accident because you did it before training camp. He had to have 6 straight, he missed 6 days because you have to have 6 straight tests. But he did it again, and he did it on purpose.
He did?
So, no, I am going to fine you for conduct detrimental. James, that's a lot of money. I don't know how many game checks, but I'm going to get a couple of them. And then I'm going to ask around, and I'm going to keep him another week just cause. Because the difference was, although AD might have been pouting, AD wasn't throwing balls at people's head.
Okay, what I don't know is, what if somehow Houston finagles a 3-way deal with extra teams involved, 4-team trade.
Okay.
And James winds up in Toronto. Remember what San Antonio did? They shipped Kawhi and Danny Green up to Toronto.
Right.
Would James love that? Would that be a way out? Huh?
They played in Florida. They played in Tampa or Orlando.
Okay.
So.
All right. Nope, but I got you. But would he want to make his new home in Toronto?
I think he wants any place other than Houston.
Okay.
But Skip, he do it.
Or is it, what I don't know is it Brooklyn or bust for James?
Well, they said he expanded.
That's what he said.
But the question that I have, Skip, is that does James realize because they gave him autonomy in trades, say you either trade for Russ or I'm requesting a trade, you get me Chris Paul. Does he realize Houston is in this predicament because of him? He put them in that predicament. And
Okay, they did everything in their power to make him happy and make themselves happy with the championship, and none of it worked.
None of it.
And it was always don't blame me, blame him. Blame Russ, blame Dwight.
And we blamed everybody.
Yep.
We blamed everybody. We blamed Mac D'Antoni. We blamed Dwight Howard. He was childish. And Chris Paul was always injured. And Russ was ball hogging. We blamed everybody except the common denominator that lasted through all of that. James Harden. James Harden is undeniable talent. He's revolutionary.
He is. Oh, is he?
But he's the problem.
Okay, so let's deal with the Celtics. Danny Ainge has the firepower, the draft capital to pull this deal off. He's got the young stars to pull this deal off.
I want Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart and 3 draft picks.
Okay. Well, maybe Danny Ainge says, okay, I'll do that because this is a revolutionary talent.
He's not trading Jason Tatum.
Okay, here's my problem with James Harden in Boston. Those fans are demanding and they are tough, and they don't want superstars who fold in big playoff games. And James's history has been coming apart psychologically in the biggest moments.
I don't think James want to go to Boston. The adult entertainment business is not the same as in Houston.
I would agree.
Atlanta might be able to be in play. What about Atlanta?
Right now, that's how you're going to.
No, he can't come to Atlanta, Skip. It'll be over.
Not how we're ending this discussion, Shannon. No mercy. Steelers receiver JuJu Smith-Schuster has been getting a lot of attention for his pregame dances on opposing teams' logos. 2 weeks ago, Josh Allen used it to motivate the Bills in his pregame pep talk. And on Monday, Bengal safety Von Bell made good on his comments that he'd hit JuJu to let him know where he stands. Now, Mike Tomlin addressed the issue yesterday. Take a listen.
I am aware of it, and I do plan to talk to JuJu. But we're professionals. I doubt any of those antics and things of that nature are legitimate motivating factors as you step into professional stadiums. But it's about respect, and so we'll have a conversation.
Former All-Pro quarterback Antonio Cromartie is joining us. So, Antonio, I start with you. Do you agree that it did not provide any legitimate motivating factor for the opponent?
I mean, you put it against Cincinnati. I think it provided some kind of motivation just because of the history that you have there between Cincinnati and also the Steelers. But at the same time, not everyone wants to say it's a problem. It's about respect. What happened on that one? The first 11 weeks of the other season, you didn't hear anything about it because it was winning. And when you look at it, it's a three-game losing skid, and now everything is starting to come to the front. Everything is going to be a problem. Every little thing that happens, it's going to be, I got to talk to this person. I got to do this. At the end of the day, he's out there having fun, but at the same time, you want to show, like Tom to say, you want to show the respect to the opposing team. But he's been doing it for actually 14 weeks now. So what's the problem now?
So before you go ahead. Antonio, when you were with Revis and the Jets under Rex, you guys were flying high. If somebody had dared come in and do that to your logo right before they played in your stadium, how would your locker room have responded to that?
Honestly, I don't know, because I really didn't. I mean, everything has it between the white lines for me. So anything you do before the game, I don't care what you do. I mean, that's just me. But if you're going to disrespect me during the game, then we're going to settle in between these white lines. Most of the time, I'm not even worried about what somebody's doing during pregame. I'm also worried about getting myself ready mentally, because I'm still watching film and doing other things that standpoint, getting ready for a game. So I'm not worried about what's
No, hell no.
Okay.
No, you ain't got no business on the logo. You got the 50-yard line. And for the problem that I have is Mike Tomlin knows, as professional athletes, you use any little thing you possibly can gather for motivation. That's what makes the greats great. What Michael Jordan, you said something? Kobe, for real? Tom Brady, you still think. You use every little thing. But let me tell you what Mike Tomlin, for me, is that I remember a guy that they were winning and they did little gestures like this and they let go unnoticed. His name was Antonio Brown, and later he became AB. It was little gestures like this that everybody, like, when they winning, why you care? Let him have fun.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, that fun turned into something else that you could not control. This is where because if it was not a problem, why is Mike Tomlin even having a conversation with him? If it's not a problem, he's become aware of it. So why are you having a conversation? First of all, this should have never been an issue. Because I get why JuJu's doing it, is getting him subscribers on TikTok. But how does it help the Steelers? Because at the end of the day, whatever I do was about helping my team. What does that do to help the Steelers besides paint a bigger bullseye and you see they go head hunting? Now, you can do all that talking. Skip, I knew talking, guys were going to come after me, but I'm going to go back after them.
Yep. So go, Crow. You got something else?
I mean, I'm just, piggyback on what Shannon said. It's just, I think when you look at it, like you say, every great is looking for something that's going to motivate them to come into a game. But at the end of the day, like you said, why is it now I have to talk to a guy? Why is it now becoming a problem? Only reason it's becoming a problem, like you said, is because they're on a 3-game losing streak. and they're not being able to throw the ball. Now, what the real problem is the offense. It ain't about what JuJu's doing. It's the offense. That's what's the problem.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I love me some Mike Tomlin, so I appreciate he's trying to say antics aren't legitimate motivational factors.
That's everything.
Man.
Yeah, football,
Okay.
I don't know about basketball, Skip, but football is everything.
Okay, take it from me, having covered this game for 40-odd years. When it comes to big game, pregame, trash talk from a distance from city to city, okay, when it's time to kick it off, it gets forgotten.
Right.
Listen, that logo is sacred to me. And I think it lives in the hearts of people in those locker rooms, the players, and there's still a lot of kids playing the game. I think you're still a kid. It's what they call suspended adolescence, you know, where sometimes you don't grow up. You're still playing Pop Warner in your heart, in your soul, you know, and it's easy to get fired up and motivated, especially as a huge underdog at home against a division rival. You're like, what? He did what? What's the most infamous play in Dallas Cowboy history? If we could see it real quick, that happened. It wasn't pregame, it was in-game. And here he goes as a 49er. He did it on the star. And George Teague said, not in my house. And there are other players who came running also to the defense here, but this is it. It doesn't get worse than that disrespect of that star during a game.
Yes.
Well, for JuJu to go out on the logo, it's not on the sideline.
Right.
He is dancing on your logo.
Right.
Right before the game, and then he is posting it minutes before kickoff. But in this age and social media we live in, that means the other locker room can immediately look at their phones and see, oh, you did it again. You danced on our logo, and you cannot make me believe that was not a big factor in Cincinnati coming out on fire to win that game.
Bro, if it was a big factor, they wouldn't have let him do it in the first place. They would have been out on the field, make sure that he didn't do it. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm getting to.
No, I'm gonna get
if it's a big motivational factor, they wouldn't have let him do it in the first place. Because he's been doing it for the last 13, 14 weeks of the season. And he posts it every single week. So why you know he's gonna do it? So you already have a motivation.
No, I'm gonna get you.
You already
I'm gonna get you between the lines because I ain't gonna lose no money by lumping you up. But Crow, I give you a prime example, and Skip, you'll know this. You remember when and they still have the terrible towels. I remember the Cincinnati Bengals, and if I'm not mistaken, the Tennessee Titans, Lindell White, they beat the Steelers, and Lindell White wiped his butt with a towel. It wasn't the Steelers. The players went berserk.
They went berserk. Yep.
So now all of a sudden you feel if somebody disrespects something of yours, oh, I can't go for that, but you want to disrespect them. Ever since I was in high school, our logo was off limits. Don't you come dance on that bulldog head. Don't you mess with the tiger, the paw. That ain't gonna happen, and definitely they're gonna dance on the Bronco logo. That ain't happening. That ain't. I don't like I say. Now with social media, Skip, everybody want to post everything. But man, Crow, you know good and well, man. Okay, you're like, oh, he did that. Okay.
But Shannon, come on. You already an underdog. That's my motivation now. My team is going and set a point against a divisional opponent every single time I face up against them. Like our biggest thing is, my biggest thing, you can go back to 2010 when I said whatever I said about Tom Brady. It was just a point of motivation, what he said during the game. So my motivation was to go out and prove a point, and our defense was going to go outside and go prove a point that we can shut that offense down any time that we wanted to. And that's what we did in the ALC divisional game. But it's just a point, like we already have a motivation. That's not going to motivate me any more than already I'm motivated. I'm already there at that point. I'm ready to go out there and go knock his head off already.
Okay, but Crow.
Going out there, go there.
Yeah, think about this. You played the game differently. You and Darrelle Revis played differently because you actually were on your own islands. It's just you and that guy that you're covering, and you took the emotion out of it because it's all cerebral and physical. I'm going to lock you up and lock you down play after play, and I'm going to stay right here with you because I got you. But to me, football is by far the most emotionally driven game because the other guys up in the trenches, they're driven by emotion, right? On both sides of the ball. You can play your game with more emotion than you can baseball or basketball or hockey, to me. Right? Okay. Different.
Oh, I'm trying to get you. I mean, hey, I could have Skip, I can just imagine in 2000 and 2001, somebody coming in and dancing on the Raven logo. I can just imagine it.
Oh, God.
What you think would happen?
First off, ain't nobody finna do it. You already know that.
I can just imagine.
Nobody's even going to dare to do it.
Hey, or you dancing, or you going down to the Buck Stadium with Sap and Brooks and But like I said, this is the new generation. Everything is for social media, it's for likes and clicks. But you got to answer for this. And JuJu play is not answered. If JuJu going out there dropping 150, 200, a couple of touchdowns, okay. But bro, he's been non-existent. Okay. You can't be doing all this.
And finally,
what, 2 catches for 15 yards?
Yep. I got to co-sign on Shannon's first point because it's a powerful one. You finally made a good point on the show. I got to give it to you. Seriously, Mike Tomlin lost his locker room because of Antonio Brown. And if he isn't careful, they've already lost enough players to injury that he's going to lose the locker room because the veterans are going to say, Mike, you got to coach. You got to put your foot down. You got to save us from ourselves.
Nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud.
This is one thing out of a million things that's already going on with that offense. So this ain't a strong point. That offense is terrible.
It's terrible.
So Ben can't throw the ball. So It's not just the JuJu, it's the whole entire offense.
The dancing, the least of their concerns right now.
Corvette got a dent in it.
I feel old, too, when I don't understand the TikTok situation. Antonio, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great holiday. We'll check in with you soon. Oh, and I love your look today. Very holiday appropriate.
No mercy.
LaMelo Ball makes his NBA debut against Cleveland tonight, while Russell Westbrook will make his regular season debut in a Wizards jersey at Philadelphia. Plus, we'll see Zion take the court against the Raptors after he tore up the preseason. All 3 of these things happen in the early window of games tonight. So, Shannon, which of these 3 games will you be most focused on? How many TVs you got?
Skip, I'll be honest with you. I got enough to watch them all, but I'm going to be watching LaMelo. I'm going to watch what I haven't seen. I've seen Russ. I've seen Zion, and I'm sure they're going to be very entertaining for the new squad. But I watch this kid. This kid can pass the ball, Skip. I watch him make an underhand bounce pass from basically half court. So I'm going to be watching Melo.
I am intrigued by LaMelo. I'm intrigued by Russ plus Bradley Beal. How will that? And yet, for me,
you love Zion.
I love Zion, and I love the older Ball brother, too. I just believe, from watching them in the preseason, this is going to be Zion's breakout year, and it starts in Toronto this evening. Boy, that West is so deep.
The West is loaded.
I want to say yes. Gut feeling, yes.
Yeah.
Zion in the preseason has been spectacularly efficient. He's going to score a bunch of points in a few minutes, and he looks like he's in much better shape as you keep goading him into.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, to see the Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Doc Rivers, to see how that's going to play out, to see, wow, okay, maybe this thing might can work. We don't need James Harden. So I'm going to be interested in seeing that, but I want to see Melo. I want to see Melo.
Well, I'll be watching all of the above.
All of the above. I only have one TV. I would like to see what Zion has to do. I'll be flipping back and forth, though. That is it for us. Good stuff today, guys. Undisputed is back at the same time tomorrow morning for a special Christmas Eve edition of the show. Have a good one.